Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cheeseburger Boys podcast. I'm Kyle, and with me, as always, is my good pal, Novel.
That's right. Here I am, right here, right now.
Here we are, right here, right now. It's raining up in Northern California.
That's right.
And it's a fine day for a podcast.
Looked a little sleety earlier.
Yeah, there's a little ice falling from the sky. It's winter after all, so
Yeah,
something
right.
like that's to be expected. And we missed last week. You were out of town.
That's right, I was.
And you were saying that due to some inclement weather circumstances, that you had a little fender bender on the highway there.
That's right, I did. I was in, Indiana or something, middle of the night, and there was like a couple of flecks of snow falling, and I was doing 70 miles an hour on the interstate. My car has oversized tires, and I've not put the gear adjustment ratio modulator thing in there, so when I'm going 65 on my speedometer, I'm actually going 70. So I pay extra attention to how fast I'm going so that I can set it and know what speed I'm doing. So I was doing 70, there was a little bit of snow, and then all of a sudden there was a lot of snow. And I was passing a truck in the left lane. Well, I was in the left lane passing big truck on the right lane, and I just I got my distance, my truck's length of distance ahead of the truck to pass, and then my merge over was just too sudden, I guess, at some point. I don't recall particularly yanking it, but just went over and then whoosh, and then I was fishtailing for, it felt like possibly, honestly, 20 seconds.
That's scary.
Long time, yeah.
That's really. I'm glad that you're all right.
Yeah, me too.
That's one of those things that car accidents are a terrible, terrible thing. You know, I was thinking about this after you told me that story, and you know, there's a lot of times people will. We have a lot of friends that die before they get too old.
That's right.
And I feel very, very sad, you know, when that happens. And a lot of times, you know, people who kind of lead the lifestyle that we, you know, our friends that do that. How about this? A lot of our friends that die do so at kind of their own hand, you know, drugs or alcohol or some kind of complications therein. And when I hear about stuff like that, it's sad, but it's not as sad as when I hear somebody died from a car crash. For some reason, to me, that's way more impactful, I suppose. You know, if you got a friend that is a train hopper and they, you know, get drunk on a train and fall off and they get smashed, it's very, very sad. But at the same time, it's like their choices were a little bit more risky than, you know, say the average commuter.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you're all right.
Oh yeah, me too. It lasted for long enough that a part of my mind got to assess the life flashing before your eyes concept. You know, like, oh, I'm just sliding down the highway here. There's a semi truck behind me and cars in front of me, and like, I don't know how far down off the rail the one side is, and I don't know how deep this culvert is on the other side. It's dark out, you know, everything just looks the same. And I like had the moment of like, oh shit, am I gonna die right now, you know? And then like thinking of the way to drive the truck in those moments, you know. Do you fight with the fishtail? Do you fight against the fishtail? Try to remember that. Like, think about my dog in the car, my people everywhere, and then it didn't happen, and it was more like, like I wasn't even shocked, you know. Like, once it started happening, like, the shock of that felt different than like when you like accidentally glaze over to the rumble strip. You're like, oh,
right.
Know, like, oh shit, that was scary. Versus like, oh shit, I am fishtailing right now. I was just like very aware, trying to not do that.
Yeah, it's scary, man. And Midwestern winters are no joke. We had a little bit of ice falling from the sky over here. We had, you know, a couple times this week we had some snowfall, but nothing that, I mean, it's hard to say though. California drivers are not used to that kind of thing. So they, you know, it starts raining, everybody freaks out and forgets how to drive. Or it starts snowing, everybody, you know, freaks out and flips their car over or whatever.
Sure, yeah. The second scariest part was coming down from Reno at like sunset, which is also rush hour. Like Reno, chock full of cars. Everybody's going 70 miles an hour, nose to bumper. There's like icy water spots in the left lane, the passing lane, going downhill. All this fast traffic, big rigs, and like flashing lights because there's cars on the side of the road that spun out in flares, and like it was just very bright and loud.
Was the weather nasty going through there?
Going through Reno, no, it was clear skies.
That's good. I mean, after you get out of Reno, you got that Donner's Pass to go over, and that's no picnic either.
Yeah, that wasn't that bad.
That's good.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, that whole drop from Reno over the mountain to Donner's that was pretty rough. Just busy, very busy.
Yeah, traveling can be a little bit hectic, especially when you're the only driver. Earlier today, we were listening to, you had put on a compilation of people who had very funny laughter.
That's right.
A very funny laugh pattern. And that got me to thinking about how human beings, are really the only creatures that I know of that have that reaction to funny things. You know, a dog doesn't understand when somebody pulls somebody else's pants down or, you know, gets pied in the face or something like that. Dog doesn't know how to laugh.
Well, I guess that's cross species recognition. I don't know, maybe like elephants or some primates are capable of understanding the humor in their own societies, like when a chimpanzee pulls another trick on a chimpanzee. I think that they do have the understanding of funny thing, he fell out of the tree or whatever.
I've seen some videos of primates. You know, they get amazed or they get, you know, flabbergasted by a magic trick or something like that.
And I would assume that dolphins can probably laugh at each other. They seem like they're smart enough to understand that another dolphin did something silly or made a joke. I don't know, making jokes. I think making jokes is a hallmark of intelligence.
I think that it might be. I don't see many other species, you know, pranking each other or doing, you know, the equivalent to stand-up comedy, but I don't speak the language, so, you know, we have a pen full of ducks out there. They seem to laugh at everything. And anybody with a keen ear that can hear past, you know, in the background, I'm sure has heard our ducks and our roosters and stuff crowing. The ducks, ah, ha, ha. They always sound like they're laughing.
I was just imagining, like, that's not like a feral dog just roaming the streets. He's like a traveling dog comedian, and he's like on his way to his next dog location, you know, like a traveling dog salesman. Bark, bark, sir. Can I interest you in some bones?
Can I interest you in a game of fetch? Yeah, but like my dog, well, I'm sure all dogs, but my dog will be happy. I can tell when she's happy. She can be scared. I can tell when she's scared. She can be sad. I can tell when she's sad. But the laughter, the humor is just, it'd be very interesting to see how they would actually communicate that. Like hook them up to some kind of brain scanner or something and see how their brains would respond to. And then what would a dog think is funny anyway? You know, they see another dog chew on a bone that thinks it's a regular milk bone, turns out to be a squeaky toy. Oh, that shit's hilarious.
I mean, I think that's all dependent on the personality that raised them.
That's true. Like Carrot Top's dog is just rolling all the time.
Oh, right. That's weird. That guy's jacked now.
He is. He looks like a monster.
What happened? People got made fun of him, and he was like, fuck that. That's all that I can imagine happened.
It seemed to backfire on him, though, because now instead of just being made fun of for being a poor comedian, he's made fun of for looking like a generic Incredible Hulk ginger.
Didn't he did like a Gallagher, like, he had a lot of props, right? That was Carrot Top's thing.
That's right. I never saw Gallagher or Carrot Top. I haven't seen many comedy shows. I went to it was either prom or homecoming one year in high school in Chicago, and we went to Second City. I don't even know if we went to the actual like homecoming dance or whatever, but we went to Second City in Chicago, which is, you know, the birthplace of a lot of famous comedians.
I've been there once.
It was a good time. I had a lot of fun. Did some underage drinking and watched some comedy, and it was probably much more fun than I would have had going to the dance at the high school or whatever.
On the topic of humor, For millennia, philosophers and psychologists have struggled to come up with an exact definition for what constitutes humor. One of the most popular theories is the incongruity theory of humor, which at its basic level states that humor arises when there is an inconsistency between what one expects to happen and what actually happens, which include comedic tools like puns, irony, and twists of fate. Under that definition, the vast majority of animals probably don't have a sense of humor, as they lack the cognitive mechanisms and networks that would allow them to identify such inconsistencies. Famously, Coco, the western lowland gorilla that could speak sign language, was known not only to use language to a humorous effect, but also to understand slapstick comedy.
Interesting. Now, is that kind of an anomaly? Is that just a sign of a really intelligent monkey, or is it something that's capable, that all primates are capable, or all monkeys are capable of doing?
She was an ape, and she would reportedly sign the word chase after tying her trainer's shoelaces together and make laughing noises at their trainer's clumsiness.
That's interesting.
There are various issues with the incongruity theory of humor and related theories, including the fact that animals cannot explain how jokes with predictable punchlines are funny, and how certain incongruous things are not funny. They also struggle to take into account for a prime reason that we laugh: being tickled by a friend or family member.
Now, that's not funny.
In recent years, psychologists came up with a different theory. They propose that humor arises from so-called benign violation, or something that threatens a person's well-being, identity, or normative belief structure, but that simultaneously seems okay.
A lot of people will laugh when they're uncomfortable, too.
Benign violation can explain why a number of things make us laugh, including being tickled. That is, tickling benignly violates someone's physical space. You can't tickle yourself because that doesn't constitute a violation, and complete strangers can't tickle you to the point of laughter because you won't see it as a benign act. Under this theory, various animals do indeed have humor, if only because they can be tickled. In 2009, research showed that primate relatives, chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and orangutans all produce laughter-like sounds when tickled, as well as their wrestling and play chasing, which suggests that humor and our ability to laugh likely came from humans and great apes' last common ancestor. In a follow-up study in 2015, scientists showed chimpanzees can make silent laugh faces just like humans. Dogs are also known to have a kind of panting laugh and play face that's suggestive of humor. Interesting. The animal that has gained the most research attention for its ability to be tickled and laugh are rats. When tickled by people or engaged in rough-and-tumble play with rats of similar size, the rodents emit long, 50 kilohertz ultrasonic chirps. They enjoy being tickled so much that they actually chase researchers' tickling fingers. It's an article from Live Science.
That's very interesting.
Right, but animals playing jokes on each other. It's just the anthropomorphization from my human point of view. I watched a video the other day of a guy feeding his cat, and his parrot was standing right next to the cat, and as the cat was trying to eat the food out of the bowl, the parrot would nip at the cat's ear, and the cat was clearly annoyed. And it kept happening, and the bird is egging him on, and then the cat bapped the bird right into the whole bowl of food, and it was hilarious to watch. And then he did it to the bird again, and the cat didn't play a joke on him per se. I watched an antagonist get his just desserts, which was predictable and funny. It was very animal comedy is a weird thing.
I think they're more funny to humans than they are to each other.
Yeah, it's got to be. That's that cognitive mechanism thing. I just don't understand. That's why it's so easy to laugh at our dogs.
Yeah, that's one of the best things my dog does, is make me laugh. And they're so silly. They just do dog stuff, and they don't think it's funny. And I wonder if they get self-conscious. Why are these motherfuckers laughing at me?
Now it makes me wonder. So our dogs love to play a game that we've dubbed Nightcrawlers, which is basically they do regular dog tussling with each other, but one of them is under a blanket. You throw a blanket over them, they go fucking nuts. And they love to play it. It's super fun for them, but they never they can't play it themselves. We have to throw the blanket over them, so we're automatically a part of that game for them. So they know we're getting enjoyment out of it because we're never oh, stop that,
Yeah.
We're always fucking busting up. So they the harder they play, the more we laugh. So they are getting pleased by pleasing us because it pleases we're pleased with them because they're pleasing us. It's like they like we cause this cycle to perpetuate itself when they're playing, and like they're like it's a rough and tumble play. So it's not like, oh, tricked you and I'm biting you on your leg, you know. But like they are sort of like goofing with each other, or are they? And I'm just anthropomorphizing. I mean, it's like real. That's a tough one to call. Like I don't think like a dog can't recognize itself in a mirror, so a dog doesn't know so much stuff. I think dogs can be smart as like 4-year-olds.
I would take that. I believe that
4-year-olds can be pretty smart.
4-year-olds can be pretty smart.
I think a dog can know like 200 commands or something like that.
I was watching some vlog. Somebody was over in France or some. I think it was France, and I heard somebody playing with their dog in the background of the thing and telling them commands in French. And it's such a basic concept that I just don't really think about. But, you know, dogs don't inherently speak any language or understand any language, you know, English or Spanish or French or whatever, but they have the ability to learn any of them just like a 4-year-old.
Right. The dog associates the words with the action.
Yeah.
Or the sound of the word. The intonation of the inflection of the voice, whether the dog knows it was doing a good thing or a bad thing.
Dogs seem to also be easier to train than cats, and I'm wondering if
everybody knows that.
I'm wondering what the, you know, you said that dogs can be as intelligent as a 4-year-old. I wouldn't be surprised to find out if a cat is more intelligent than that, and just doesn't want to be told what to do. I've seen cats that are able to be trained. I've seen a cat that can sit down and shake paw and, you know, whatever, all that stuff that a dog would do. Yeah, that's
their personality doesn't seem to lend itself to trainability so much.
But they do seem to be very much more interested in, you know, like you were saying, comedy. I don't think they take it as comedy, but how many times have you seen a cat that's like staring down a teacup on the edge of the countertop and like bats it a couple times and then slams it on the ground and, you know, oh, there we go. And I don't know if that's funny to them, if that's going to trigger a comedic response or something. But they seem to do more stuff like that than dogs. And maybe it just boils down to the fact that, you know, they're a little bit more difficult to train, so people just kind of sweep it under the rug. I don't need to train my cat because cats are untrainable.
Well, why do you think people laugh when they're super frustrated? Because I would associate that laughing at the cat knocking all of my fine whatever items off the thing, specifically after I say, don't do it.
Yeah.
And then the cat just looks at you and fucking does it. Like, that's hilarious from this outside perspective of watching that scenario. But when it's me and that's my, like, cup of coffee or, you know, whatever the thing is, I'm mad at the cat for doing it. It's not funny at all.
Not funny at all.
But maybe I'm laughing in frustration. Why do we laugh when we're frustrated?
Frustration, uncomfortability, you know, and I've even heard some people laugh when they get hurt. And it's a very interesting mechanism. I got really frustrated one time at my girlfriend. I have a bad shoulder, so at any given time, well, I wouldn't say any given time, but under certain circumstances, my shoulder will come out of the socket, and it's a nightmare. It's probably the worst thing that could happen to me in a day. And the first time it happened, and I was with my girlfriend, I said, my shoulder just popped out, and she started laughing. And I said, this is not a laughing matter. I'm really hurt. And it wasn't, you know, later on, at the time, I was very mad because I was in a lot of pain, and it seemed to me that she wasn't taking it seriously, or it was, I don't exactly know what, but afterwards, after the dust settled, my shoulder got put back in and I was in a more calm state of mind. I said, well, what's the deal with that? You know, why did you laugh? That wasn't funny. She said, I didn't think it was funny. I was just extremely uncomfortable, and that was the way to deal with it. I suppose it might have something to do with it. Me personally, if I'm uncomfortable, I want to immediately, or as quickly as possible, try to subvert that. You know, I'm walking on the porch and I get a splinter in my foot. I'm going to pull that thing out as quickly as possible because I need to stop feeling this pain or this uncomfortability. And so I guess it would make sense, like, on a survival level or something. I don't know, maybe not survival, but to try to circumvent that feeling of uncomfortability so that you can more clearly assess the situation. But at that time, in the circumstance where my shoulder came out, I needed to get stern. I said, listen, you either need to put my shoulder back in or need to go to the hospital, because this is not, I can't go on like this. And, put it back in, and it was all fine. But
I'm thinking about, so when you laugh, like laughing feels good.
Mm-hmm.
And feeling good is your brain releasing dopamine.
Sure.
So, like when you're hurt, you laugh instinctively because you've just suffered pain. And like maybe subconsciously, you know that laughing makes you feel good. So if I laugh, it's going to counter this pain that is imminent. Same thing in the uncomfortable situations. You're like, oh, I feel bad. I'm just going to laugh because laughing makes me feel good. Like a subconscious fix.
I'm wondering if other cultures have the same kind of reaction. When I was growing up, one of the biggest shows that I remember watching was America's Funniest Home Videos. And so from a very young age, I was influenced, I should say, to laugh at other people's pain. What's that word?
Schadenfreude.
Yeah, that's the one. And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, when it kind of trickles down into your everyday, I could see the potential for it to be a bit destructive or counterproductive at the least.
I was taking it as like they're all lessons. It's like unbelievably stupid lessons that I'm laughing at their pain because I've now learned yet another thing to not do.
Absolutely. I'm thinking of a situation that we were in before too, and there was kind of a split in the reaction. We were at a Thanksgiving feast up in northerner California than we're in, and somebody had fallen into the fire, and there was a handful of people that laughed, and there was another handful of people that went immediately into first aid mode. Or medic mode, we need to help this person. There was no sense of comedy or laughter. It was, we need to, get this fire off this person and fix their wounds.
I think that I'm a very bitter and cynical person, and I think that has a lot to do with the ability to laugh at others' misfortune.
Yeah.
Selfish, some sort of selfishness to it, perhaps.
I could see that, but at the same time, when you see somebody like on a fail video or something fall off a ladder or crash their bicycle or something, you might laugh, but I would be surprised if you told me that you felt good about that person hurting themselves. It's more of a reflex than a.
Sure, I suppose there's some detachment to it being videos as well. Like
oh, absolutely.
Well, gosh, I'm trying to think in real life, like. It's no good to hurt yourself. I hate it when I hurt myself.
And if I hurt myself and somebody laughs, I get furious.
Surely.
I cannot share in that laugh.
Watching the... I'm pretty good about not just accidentally hurting myself. Like, there's like an intentionally accidentally hurting yourself, and then there's totally accidentally hurting yourself. Like,
yeah,
I was literally in the kitchen cutting in a normal, regular amount of space, and then a thing thumped outside right as I was cutting down, and it scared me, and I didn't look, and I cut myself a little bit. Like, that's an accident, right? Versus, like, I thought that I could jump from the roof to that tree.
Yeah, right. If you're being a dumbass and you hurt yourself, I mean, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, where if somebody dies and it's at their own hands, it's a little bit differently impactful than if it's something that's completely freak.
Sure, yes. I'm gonna hope that the majority of the fail videos that I watch where people hurt themselves, they don't die.
Yeah, I hope so
all those
too.
Things and they just conveniently edit that out. Like every fail is a death. I don't want to think about that.
No,
that's terrible.
Just watching snuff films on YouTube.
Snuff up to the point, like that's like a No, I don't want to watch people die. I want to watch people perform possibly life-changing incidents, so that I don't know how else to say that. I'm not gonna. Maybe keeps me to limit myself, and I'm not gonna experience the full life that some of those people had up to that point.
Sure.
But it's like, shit, dude. The thing where you're not attached to the boat, and it's just you and like the surfboard and wakeboarding with the sail and shit, right? Like that shit looks awesome, right? Like when those guys are doing it, great, looks so awesome. But I've seen too many fails to ever try to do that. Where it hooks them up and then it just like slingshots them into the fucking ocean or something. Like that's terrible. I'm never gonna do that. Like. I'm not gonna do parkour.
No.
I'm not gonna do parkour. What are other things? Oh, I'm not gonna skateboard anymore.
No.
I might skateboard from A to B.
Yeah.
And I'm still fully aware of like little tiny rocks gonna get my ass.
Yeah, the older I get and the more ways I hurt myself, the less things I want to do that I used to enjoy. We were talking earlier downstairs about snowboarding. It's a lot of fun, man. I used to have a lot of fun when I was a teenager going snowboarding, but I've hurt myself in so many silly ways that I don't need to tempt fate like that.
Sure.
The first time I ever injured my shoulder was in gym class, and we were playing tennis, and my shoulder came out, and I went to the hospital, and they fixed me up, and I didn't play tennis again after that. And throughout the course of, like, I guess I would say the last 15, 16, 17 years, something like that, I can't throw a softball. I'm not going to play Frisbee with you. I'm not going to, put my hand over my head when I go to sleep because I'm going to hurt myself, or I could hurt myself.
That's right.
And that's not funny. Not for me anyway. Sometimes in retrospect, I can laugh at a time when I hurt myself, but never at the moment.
I've been of the consideration recently. I did something for the first time in my life. I downloaded an exercise app to my phone.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like logically the concept of if I don't exercise all the muscles in my body in some sort of routine constantly, they're going to atrophy away slowly. Like they'll assume their minimal state.
Right. Use it or lose it.
Right. And I think that like I have back pain because like I hunch over, and a lot of that hunching is due to the support provided by several things because the other muscles aren't strong enough. And so it makes a lot of sense that if there's places in my body that are weak and I exercise the muscles, they will get stronger.
Yeah.
That I should do that. And I guess it's like different. Like my shoulder pops in and out, but it doesn't hurt me like yours does.
Right.
I could still use it and put it back. It's like super. It does all kinds of weird clickety clacking. And if I strengthen that, then maybe it would do less of that clicking and clacking.
That's what they told me the first time when I went to the hospital for my shoulder. They said, if you take physical therapy and you strengthen it up, you will have a chance of it never happening again. And, believe it or not, I didn't do that, and here we are.
Right. But, you could.
Yeah.
Start doing that.
Absolutely.
I do in a 7 minute a day exercise routine. It's 30 seconds in exercise. And I'm slightly sore. I've been doing it for 4 days. It only takes 7 minutes. That's the thing. That's the thing that I'm trying to get healthier.
Yeah, being healthy is a good thing. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, you're going to die anyway, so just do whatever." And my immediate response to that is, yeah, of course everybody's going to die, but some people are going to die in agony. Sitting there miserable, their bodies shut down and they can't function. Other people will die in their sleep, or who's that dude that died that fitness expert that died while he was jogging?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you want to do about how you die, right? Like, Western medicine is about prolonging life. Like, like people getting older, like, do I want to live the longest life that I possibly could, regardless of, like, any others? I just want to be alive, like...
I vote no, for me personally. I would rather die in a way that is not miserable for me and the people around me that have to watch me die.
Right, and now, that's all presupposing that, like, everything out there in the world just keeps on chugging along, totally normal. Like, we're like, I think what's like 80, 85 is like a normal death rate, or was it like 100? What are people expected to die at?
I feel like it's probably closer to 80 than 100.
All right, so that's in like 50 years.
50 years.
50 years from now. 2068. Like...
But then in 2068, what's the medical technology going to do for the life expectancy at that point?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Based on advances in science and technology that I'm aware of over time, I think it's fully reasonable to expect that, like, they'll have some crazy shit going on.
Totally.
Possibly in like the realm of gene therapy, or like cloning stuff. Like, we'll clone you with just a little marble of a brain. So he was never sentient, and you can have all the organs you need until he's dead, and then we'll make another one.
I saw recently you made a post about getting your dog cloned.
Oh yeah, that was a real whole interesting thing. You had to request the information from the company.
As a matter of circumstance, I saw that later that same day that I believe it was Barbra Streisand.
Correct. That's what inspired me to research it.
Two dogs cloned. That's a very interesting thing.
So my argument was, you could have the exact same dog if, when you bought the dog as a puppy, and had, like, I'm going to assume that this dog that you have had cloned, you got him when he was just young enough to go home.
I think that your thing said 6 weeks or something.
6 weeks, right? Okay, so the dog's already had 6 weeks with its mother in some environment. Things have happened there. Scary, not scary, hot, cold, I don't know. You don't have total control over this dog. But let's say you're some person who, like, works a 9-to-5 job, and you're like a salaried person, and, like, you take care of your dog, but, like, you're gone the same amount of time, like, every week. You do the same thing, right? Like, you're just reliable old Kyle Hoffman going to work. Got my new dog, raising him. He's a pup. Got to spend the time that I spend with him. When I don't, he lives in the kennel, in the house, in the same spot. That's my house. I own it. Mm-hmm. Same routine every day. This dog's whole entire life until it dies, right? Dog is say the dog makes it 14, right? You still got the same job.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking clone that dog. You bring that puppy home. It's going to be the same dog if you're doing the same thing, except for your mental progression, the way you feel about everything, the way that you're interacting with life. Like, if you change, your dog will be different. But if you're doing the same thing and that dog is in the same environment as the same exact dog before, there's no reason to think you wouldn't have the same exact dog.
That's true. There's a thing in genetics about, you have a certain genetic potential, and based on the environment that you are, I guess based on your environment, certain codes of your genes will turn on or not. And, the world changes. You get a 14-year-old dog that you've cloned, and then you got another 14-year-old dog. There's going to be perhaps, I'm just speculating, but maybe changes in the types of vaccines that are available for dogs, or different types of treatments for, ticks or whatever. I would be very, very, very surprised if you were able to, produce a dog that was exactly the same.
I'm going to say that if you can mimic the environmental conditions, you're going to have the same creature.
Yeah.
If you have the genetically same creature and you can literally give it the same exact life, there's no reason to think that it wouldn't act any different.
That's true.
Particularly if you approached owning those 2 dogs like a science experiment.
Right. That it's very fascinating to me, the whole cloning thing.
You got issues with the ethics there?
No, I don't have issues with the ethics. I feel, well, it depends on, I'll say, the intent behind it. You know, if the government is cloning people for the sole purpose of brainwashing them and sending them to war to just die, just to be, cannon fodder, I would have a problem with that. But for personal kind of recreation, I suppose, I don't see much.
I mean, it's not the cloning technology's fault. That's the government's usage of the technology.
Right, that's what I mean. It depends on how you use it. Plants get cloned all the time. I don't hear anybody having ethical problems with that. You want a genetic duplicate? Here's your genetic duplicate. I understand that dogs are maybe a little more sentient than a plant, for example, but...
So the company that did Barbra Streisand's dogs that sent me the information spawned out of doing work for ranchers and farmers. Prize stud bull.
Okay.
We want that dog. We want that bull again. Its personality doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
It's a stupid animal. Lock it up in the fields. It's there to fuck, and that's it. Like, it's going to get fed the same amount and live in the same farm where the same other bull had already lived and just fucked whatever cows he could fuck, whenever he could fuck, because that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Personality doesn't matter. Like, when you're cloning that dog or that cat, personality totally fucking.
Absolutely.
That's the whole point.
Right.
Like, I love that cat. He never touched me. He never looked at me. He laid there in a ball where I could never see his head. I want him cloned. Perfect. So that he could do the same thing again.
Regardless of how the stud bull or whatever was brought into this world, it was still going to get the same treatment.
Right. And so, in that realm, sure, fucking clone away.
Clone away.
Like, why would I want these inferior animals when I have the money to pay for superior product, which makes more meat, I guess is the whole point of
Known
that.
good genetics, yeah.
Makes the meat, makes me the profit. Like, clone away. So
Clone
yeah,
away.
Bulls, livestock, goats, chickens. Now, cats and dogs. Yeah, dog $50,000, cat $25,000.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, right. And the obvious thing there is that dogs are better, but it's not a size thing because you're looking at a big ass like Saint Bernard you're cloning versus a Chihuahua.
It doesn't. I mean, it shouldn't matter because the cells and whatever that you're going to start with are going to be, microscopic anyway.
And then it didn't really get into it, but what animal incubates my baby animal? Like, is it a dog? Some dog is going to be artificially implanted with, I assume, mine and several other people's dogs, and they're going to, come out and they're going to be genetically tested to figure out which one, whose puppy, and then, that this is the specific dog. This is Novel's dog, and that's Kyle's dog, and that's, so-and-so's puppy, all put into one dog, just like, multiple dogs can knock up a dog.
Sure.
So they artificially implant those
is that
embryos.
the way they do it?
I don't know. This is what I'm assuming. Or if they're either putting them in a live dog, or they have an artificial womb that they're growing puppies in. Like
the clone lab in Venture Brothers. There's a bunch of clones in tubes.
It literally is one or the other. So, well, I say literally. And if anyone out there wants to dispute that, hook me up.
Yeah, let's. If anybody can tell us what's going on with that in the comment section, that would be a real eye-opener for us.
I mean, I think it's more likely that they're putting the puppies in a dog. But then they have to have, a cage of just breeding dogs, the issue in humans is, what has this clone baby, the artificial, in vitro fertilization and, have test tube babies. Artificial wombs have been around, but it's still not as viable as a person. Where do you find the people? It's the surrogate mother thing.
Yeah. I mean, the human body is kind of built to make babies. If you have to duplicate that, it's much the same thing in my mind as, if you're growing a plant in a greenhouse or if you're growing it outdoors. If you're growing a plant outdoors, Well, that's the plant. That's where the plant is supposed to be grown. If you're growing it at a greenhouse, what you're trying to do is as closely duplicate the natural outside as you can in the greenhouse or in an indoor situation. A lot more room for error when you're trying to recreate nature.
I'm thinking about like transplanting a plant to soil versus transplanting a plant into like an agar gel floating nothing gel substance and then adding the nutrients and like sustaining it that way. Like you have access to the natural systems that like encourage the growth of the thing that you've just changed over versus having to create those situations yourself out of cyborgian,
Okay.
Still like organic and inorganic materials. Like, well, I don't know what an artificial womb is made out of.
No, I don't either.
Sort of like mesh. So, I don't know, right? But like, it's probably not all plastic.
Probably not.
Right? I'd imagine it's got like some like organic stuff going. Like they can grow ears on rats or whatever. Like they can grow like a person's ear on a rat. You know about that?
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
So like they can cause tissue and like biological matter to work in some way with a growing baby. It's not like just tubes plugged in everywhere, and I mean technically that mix of organic and inorganic is a cyborg, right? Or is that cybernetic? I think it's cyborg.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that has something to do with like mechanical alterations. Well, I don't know. And I'm wondering also with this cloning thing,
how
like
would it
what?
Not be mechanical?
Well, I suppose you're right.
Hooked up to things that are giving it nutrients and like there's like a blood flow that goes to like I don't know what a baby needs to survive outside of a human's womb.
I also, on this topic of cloning, I'm curious what people are doing, what scientists are doing to try to maybe clone endangered species or like Jurassic Park style, where they took the DNA from the dinosaurs and brought them back and, mixed it with the frog and made something close enough. Because that seems to me like, I don't know, that's humans meddling with nature, I suppose, in a way that's anti-Darwinian.
Isn't that how we have like ligers and stuff?
That would be neat.
They have sex normally. I was trying to think like, well, you get the endangered species back by like taking its DNA and like fiddling with some close relative of it to make it have the new baby, and then you have to implant that in this artificial whatever or one of those animals to then birth it. And that's weird to think about. Like, one day chimpanzees are almost gone, and there is no female chimpanzee, and so like a human has a chimpanzee baby to carry it out, because it's like a like, how do you get these other animals, right? Like, you have to breed them from outside of something. So like, why couldn't a person birth any other primate?
That's an interesting idea.
Like, oh, we're gonna bring back the dire wolf,
right?
Like, what are you gonna put that in? Like a dog or a wolf, right? Like we're gonna bring back the Neanderthal. What are you gonna put that in? Like a gorilla or a person?
Yeah. I think that's where a lot of people's ethical questions come in, is, trying to play God or whatever, trying to manipulate nature for your own personal gain.
I mean, dude, if anybody ever cloned a Neanderthal, it's not like I'm gonna get to hang out with that Neanderthal. It's not like it's gonna like, oh, hey, we all got Neanderthals now. Like, here you go, everybody. Guess what we figured out? We figured out a quick and easy Neanderthal cloning technique. That science is still so far away from like the regular guy. I mean, it just makes me think back, like, okay. Back when everybody had fucking cassettes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how long before that did like the army or like some other like Japan or the army? How long do they have like Laserdisc CDs? You know, like the technology slowly gets released to the public. It just makes me wonder, like, what's coming next? Like this slow, like, oh, now we've got this cloud technology. Oh, here's the internet. You know, like the internet came from the DARPANET Army Communications Project. Like the whole time, it's been like it's grown into this like great big thing, but all its roots are in an obfuscated place.
Mm-hmm.
Like what cell phone technology we talk about, like you see like it developed from radio technology in the war movies. The guy's got the big bulky thing. It's like a phone, but it's not a phone. It's not really a cell phone. You know, like car phone. How long were these things being used before we got to use them? I just saw an article talking about the Department of Defense just started talking about a UFO program that they had and then said was still going to observe. Oh, it had a funny name, but they've had a UFO program since like 2012 or something like that.
What are they doing with that? Are they observing UFOs or
finding pieces of supposed UFOs?
Interesting.
And checking them out.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to find out that there's been plenty of UFO, actual real UFOs, and we just don't need to know. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Right. They just declassified some video. Last year, the Pentagon acknowledged that it had shelved an initiative devoted to identifying unknown objects in airspace. I'm looking for the name of the organization. The Luis Elizondo, former head of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. He now works for the To the Stars Academy. And you must have seen those YouTube ads with what's his dick from Blink-182?
Tom DeLonge.
There's UFOs out there.
Yeah.
That organization is specifically to like UFOs are real. And you've got like a bunch of like army guys and a bunch of people.
Yeah, he's all about that. He's like a big he's higher up in one of those organizations.
That organization, To the Stars Academy.
Interesting.
Well, they just released those videos, and the Pentagon said that the Pentagon said the initiative, the UFO initiative ended in 2012, and the Senate Majority Leader told the New York Times, that its funding came from black money. It was determined that there were other higher priority issues that merited funding, and it was in the best interest of the Department of Defense to make a change. Blah blah blah. Said. And the guy that quit working there said, like, they're still doing it. But like,
if I'm not
they're
mistaken,
spending millions of dollars on still checking out UFOs, and like, shit's real, dog.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, you told me about a certain incident in Arizona where there were some flying objects that were not able to be identified.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and the video is pretty crazy too. The pilots are like super legit in the plane, talking about like, what the fuck is that shit over there? Like, and you like see it on the video that they recently declassified. And it's like, it's more fuel for UFO believers for sure.
I used to be really big into UFOs back in the X-Files days. It's very fascinating to me, especially because there's something going on that is just very clearly being ignored or covered up or something, you know?
Wikipedia page says that program, the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, AA tip,
Nice.
was a secret investigatory effort funded by the U.S. government to study unidentified flying objects, but it was not classified. First made public December 16th, 2017. The program began in 2007 with funding of $22 million over the 5 years until the available appropriations ended in 2012. And what was going on? Senator Harry Reid wanted to study unexplained aerial phenomena at the urging of his friend, Nevada businessman and government contractor Bob Bigelow, with support from some other people. $22 million spread out over 5 years. They have a publicly unissued 490-page report that documents alleged worldwide UFO sightings over several decades. This guy, Luis Elizondo, resigned from the Pentagon in October 2017 to protest government secrecy and opposition to the investigation. Stated that the program is not being taken seriously. While the Department of Defense stated the program was terminated in 2012, the exact status of the program and its termination remains unclear.
Spooky.
It's rife for like a television movie thing. Like, oh my god, aliens are real.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised in the least to find that out. I think that would be an interesting day when we all find, oh, here's the ambassador from planet Y.
Did we talk about that? I feel like we already talked about that in a podcast. I talked about a science fiction book where aliens came down for the Canadian archaeologist.
I don't know if we did talk about that.
All right, what the fuck was that book called? Shit. I think Stephen Baxter wrote it. I think is the author. And I can't specifically remember the title right now. But let's see. Oh, he's a Canadian archaeologist, and he works at some Canadian college. The author's Canadian, and he's got cancer. He's taking chemo, and his hair's falling out, and he's going to die from his cancer. And his wife and his kid are real sad. And one day, a spaceship lands at the college that he teaches at, and an alien steps out. And the alien is like a real weird looking, odd. It's like an odd number of appendages, and it's all complicated. That alien's all complicated, and it's like, we're looking for this guy. And the people are like, you don't want to talk to like the Prime Minister of Canada or anything, and he was like, no, and we're looking for this archaeologist guy. And the guy's like, here I am. What's up, aliens? And he's like, alien, and he's like, I've got other aliens on the ship. Like, there are events that happened in our timeline that, because of relativity and how far away we are from your planet, occurred at certain specific geological times in your timeline. We're trying to prove the existence of God because these things happened, and like they happened on your planet too. And this guy's like, God's not real. Why do I have fucking cancer? My family sucks. God's not real. Like, I'm gonna work with you because this is crazy, and you're aliens, but I don't know. There's no God. So he gets on the spaceship, and there's like other aliens who are also like, yes, these things happen. Something that always blew my mind about that, and don't let me get off topic, was that one of those aliens had like a band of eye all the way around its like cone shaped body, so like it could see in 360 degrees all at the same time, and the alien also had a high level of cardinality.
Okay,
which is like you can tell how many fingers I'm holding up without having to go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right. Okay.
Like you can just tell that like I'm holding between 1 and, well, people get to like 7 and you have to start counting specific. But like hands, it's a lot easier. But the aliens' cardinality was in like the millions, so it could like look at a tree and be like, oh, there's 746,312 leaves on that tree.
Far out.
So you could just like know, and like that concept was kind of like fucked with my mind, like the ability to perceive an amount of things.
Like Rain Man.
Yeah, sure. So there's all these aliens. They're on this spaceship, and they're looking to prove that God is real. like something that we all call that we call God, and those aliens also call God, exists, because there's geographical data that shows that like planets near Earth like died, and near our solar system like were purged in like a supernova.
Okay.
You know, and like things like exploded and were like wiped out, cosmic radiation. But like our galaxy exists outside of that, like being destroyed, and like the intelligent design argument of like our planet happens to sit just close enough to the sun that we don't explode in flames, and just not far enough away that we're not freezing to death. Like,
Yeah.
just happen to exist. And it's like, oh, so God is like literally some space alien, and they're like floating, and sure enough, they like get to wherever they're getting to, and they like discover like a giant, you know, like millions of miles in diameter, sort of like amoeba type thing that's like communicating with them, and it's like is the thing that like was God, and like a supernova is going to happen again. And it like stretches real big, and like gives them a sample of it. It's like goo or whatever, you know, to like space alien craft science lab study. And the supernova happens, and it like saves the galaxies all again, and then it dies and like is gone. And they're like shit, and they like examine it, and it's like got bits of them, all of their DNA's in it. So all these like different aliens like have to go find more aliens that like they haven't like added to their thing yet, to like they have all their DNA, and they mix them all together again with that God's DNA, and it makes like whoosh, like a new amoeba God thing, and then the guy dies of cancer. and so like, but like, oh, the universe came together, and aliens ever came together to make the new God. It's like a good concept, but like God as an alien.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. What do you listeners out there think? What do you think? God's an alien? What do you think about alien technology and potential for UFO encounters? Let us know down in the comments.
Well, that rant. Oh yeah, if God was an alien, that means that. Well, I'm gonna run with it. God's an alien.
Okay.
This means there's more than one kind of alien.
Mm-hmm.
So God's more like a magic powers alien, right?
Okay.
But then there's like lasers and blasters and like brainiac, like fucking smart like computer mechanical aliens, right? We're just gonna have to go with that, because like what's God doing? How's he floating around if he's like a whoosh, magic alien? He's just holding his breath for a long time. No, I'm not gonna go with that. Like, God's got a spaceship. Right, like that he like got somewhere, and like his other aliens. Right, let's just leave that vague and understood. God came from a place where he had to speak. God came down here in a spaceship, right? and like was like dicking around, fucking with people, lighting bushes on fire and stuff, and generally having a good God time. and he like banged a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then they had a half alien baby.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point God disappeared, right? Like God wasn't around because like Jesus died.
Okay.
Right? And God didn't do nothing. God wasn't like talking to anyone, chilling. Like
right.
The Bible like goes past the death of Christ, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
The New Testament.
Yeah. New Testament starts with the Gospels, which is the story of Jesus.
So like God like was there, and then like had the baby, and then maybe he left. He like, or this is what I'm running with. God got captured or kidnapped by like, other space aliens, and then was gone. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like Jesus died or whatever, but he was with an alien, so he didn't die. He was just like alien healing, and then on the cross, stabbed with a spear,
like E.T. kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And he was healing. He wanted to go home, and then when they say like God Jesus rose up out of the thing and then like ascended to heaven, he like literally like floated, flew into outer space to go find his dad, Maybe because like, oh, I didn't even get this far in my thoughts yet. Maybe because when God alien bred with humans, it made like extra super powered aliens. So he didn't need a ship; he could just fly. And he's out there flying around 2,000 years now, looking for his kidnapped dad.
Man, that sounds like a good movie.
So when Jesus comes back, he's gonna have to like fought the other aliens and rescued God, and maybe they'll like get his ship a la like the Millennium Falcon, you know, if like pick it back up or whatever. Like they'll like pick it back up, and then they'll come back down here in a spaceship. It'll be like super weird. I like that.
I like that idea.
Does anyone
too.
have a better idea on what happened to God? If so, let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. And while you're at it, you know, spank that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up, because it really helps us. It really helps us out.
Yeah, those clicks equal percentages of pennies, I think.
They would if there was enough of them.
And that's seriously, we could die.
Yeah, that's right. We could. It's an emergency.
Help.
So until next time, everybody, make sure to wash your hands when you go to the bathroom, and look both ways when you're crossing the street.
Be nice to people, because that you could do it for free.
It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Yeah, and we'll see you next time.